Welcome, everyone, to the Heal Yourself and Heal the Earth conference. I'm your host, Monique Chalice, and today I'm really thrilled because we have Nanti Sedibe-Sabic speaking with us. Now, Nanti is a workshop leader and a dynamic speaker. She is passionate about self-development, group dynamics, and motivating and empowering others. She enjoys tackling women's issues, building bridges of hope and healing between Africa and Europe and beyond. She loves sharing knowledge on conscious living, advocating for climate justice, and regenerative education. Her work includes education on diversity and racism awareness. She is a firm believer of Ubuntu, an indigenous African knowledge system. She is co-founding director of Rise Ubuntu Network and served on the board of the Global Eco-Village Network. So welcome, Nanti. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Monique.
Oh, absolutely. And I love the title of your talk, which is Ubuntu, Indigenous Ways of Healing.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you could begin by just explaining this concept, this knowledge system of Ubuntu.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. So Ubuntu is a philosophy and a way of living, which is very indigenous to South Africa. It comes basically from the indigenous people of South Africa, but the way it's almost indigenous all around the world. It's just in the South, we call it Ubuntu. And it's based really on the belief that one cannot exist on their own, that I am because we are. It's based on the interconnectedness, that we are all connected to each other and to the environment around us, that there isn't any separation. So the way you behave and the way you show up embodies, or rather it really reflects on the understanding of this, and the deep understanding that you belong to the universe, you belong to nature around you and the people around you.
That's beautiful. Do you feel that Ubuntu is really, say, part of our true human nature? Is it a universal thing, do you think? It's part of our original human blueprint?
Totally. Totally. It's Ubuntu comes from the word Umuntu. Umuntu means a person or a human being, and therefore Ubuntu is the behavior. This is how a human being should be showing up into this world. So it is a blueprint in all of us. The only thing is that we have forgotten. We have kind of separated ourselves and been so bombarded with so many different lifestyles and so much knowledge that gives us an idea of being alone, of bringing us too much into the I am, of being I and the other is out there. And therefore, it's something that we've somehow forgotten. Yet it is in the basis and it's in the blueprint in every human being, in everything that lives, because we are nature, we are part of nature.
Yes, absolutely. So could you describe what life is like in a place where Ubuntu is alive? Let's say in South Africa, when a child comes into the world, how are they met?
I always use this narrative of if we can imagine a village, and within the village system, for it to function, there has to be a way of governance, there has to be a way of knowing how to interact with each other. There are rules that are based coming really from the heart, are created from the heart. So everything and everybody has its place. And at the same time, it's very important that as soon as I would say when a child is born, from the day they are born, that they know their place within the community or within the village. And the village also has this clear awareness that they have a responsibility to this new Ubuntu, or this new human being that is arriving in their community. So it's always a sense of give and take, because then the community is responsible for this new being that's coming in, because we know that this being that is coming in, every single person has a purpose in life. Every single person has a gift that they bring with them, their own specific energetically vibration, and this is a gift to us as a community. But in order for us to be able to receive this gift, in order for us to be able to benefit from this gift, we need to nurture this human being that brings this gift. So we are responsible. So from the day when the child is born, needs to know that a community has gathered around to welcome them, to let them know that you belong. You belong and you are one of us, and you are wanted here. I think the saddest thing that we have in the Western world is the lack of knowing that we are connected with others, the lack of knowing that we are actually wanted. I think everybody wants to know that they are of use to somebody, that they are wanted, and that they belong to either a tribe or to a group of people. We all want to be useful. And the sense of the world that we live in right now gives us the idea of it's almost like you need to do extra, you constantly need to prove yourself in order to be accepted, or in order to feel you are connected to something greater than you or to the people around you. Yet this is not how it should be. This is something that we should just be born into, and you live your life's journey always surrounded by this knowledge and by people who are constantly reminding you that you are. It's a song of you are the one we've been waiting for.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, and I can say, as someone who grew up in a culture that was diametrically opposed to this sort of concept, we're taught about the individual. The individual has to fight, you have to compete, you have to get ahead, strive to get ahead of everyone else, and then, buy a bigger house and buy a bigger car and buy more stuff to kind of prove something, I don't know what. So this is such a beautiful, nurturing sort of way of being that, I think a lot of people are now craving for something like this. So thank you for sharing. And I just wonder how those of us maybe in the Western world, or the global North, as you might term it, there's so much disease and mental health issues. How can we bring this concept, this way of being, this Ubuntu, into our lives as modern day people? How can we utilize and benefit from this knowledge that you're sharing? How can we heal ourselves,
Yeah. As I've already said, for me, I believe that the source of all the pain and all the disease is really this deep illusion of being alone. It just starts there, because how can you, it must be really scary to feel alone in this huge world, yet being surrounded by so many people. And for me, I find that really the basis and the fundamental and the power is in creating community where you are. And it's not really a matter of going and just living only just in eco villages or in the rural area. And for me, is wherever you are, you could be anywhere, you could be in the city, you could be anywhere. You just need to create that sense of community. And it doesn't always necessarily have to be your family members as well that you create community with, but it has to be people that you find a heart-to-heart connection, where you feel you can you can create a space of where you can share your gifts, and you can also at the same time be able to empower others and support others also in their life's journey, because everybody, as I've already said, has something to give. So a place where your gifts and who you are can really shine and can be of contribution, because otherwise why are we here on this planet? What is the purpose of life? I find this is like a very strong question that comes up a lot in the Western world, where people are constantly, either they ask it late in their lives because they find themselves that they have, as you've already explained, like having this phase of core of saying you have to go to school until this age, you have to finish high school, you have to go to university, you have to have a job, you have to have a house. And it's like all these rules that are made that we haven't really questioned until recently of why does it have to be like that. And this, of course, is designed to make us more separate. It's designed to feed a system of capitalism. Everything is connected, to the economics, to the culture. So if you destroy people's culture, if you destroy people's mental well-being, if you bring people a very strong illusion that they are alone, that they disconnect them from each other, they start to look for other things to replace, or and these things include buying stuff. These things include really going against basically your soul imprint. Going against the greater good of the planet. And as we see things with the climate crisis and how we're destroying nature, because we truly really live in this illusion that we are separate from the we're not part of the ecosystem. So therefore, my advice is really, the basis is to go back into the space of creating community where you are, and starting the process of remembering that we are connected. This is Ubuntu. This is our natural state of being is love, is caring for each other, is supporting each other. This is the natural state of being human. Of course, there will always be conflict, but it's also knowing how to handle these conflicts, finding systems that are coming from the heart, and connecting the mind and the heart, of knowing how to handle situations of conflict in a practical way. So it's more of, for me, I call it practical spirituality, of having that spiritual space in whichever way. Doesn't matter what your belief system is or what your religion is, but also having practical actions of how do you live day by day. How do you govern yourself? How do you govern your community? How do you take care? Do you understand about finances and economics? How does it really work in the world? How do you spend your money, and how does you spending your money a certain way affect other people in another part of the world? Because they might be far away, but actually we are just connected. It's all those things that are necessary for us to open ourselves to, and to educate ourselves about, in order to heal ourselves. It's a part of healing, It's a process. Yeah.
Right. So what would you just say to someone perhaps who is waking up, who is recognizing the illusion as you described it, but they don't know what their gift is? They weren't brought up in that way. It wasn't reflected back to them. Are there any practical tips or spiritual tips that you could give to help them start on that journey of discovering their gifts?
Yeah, I think, there's many techniques that are out there that help people to somehow go through the journey of finding their purpose, of finding their gifts, and many of them really, I do somehow recognize them as a way that could help, especially in the Western way of thinking. But just a quick one, I would just say first is, it's that when I think mostly this question always comes up when people are in the state of either depression or really deep mental not being well. When you really know, because your whole being is just telling you something is not right. You know, why am I here? What is the meaning of my life? And this is really like a gift, because it's like a crisis point, but it's a gift that helps you to start asking yourself questions. So what I always say to people is allow yourself to be in that crisis, you know, and allow yourself to be in the space of grief. Because usually with the Western way of thinking, I say we because I also grew up in the Western way of thinking at the same time, on one feet in the indigenous way, is that we want solutions and we want them now, you know. And this is also one of the ways that creates so much pressure in our daily lives. So I would just say go through the process of acknowledging your grief, acknowledging your where you are right now. I call it the deep rabbit dark hole, acknowledging that you are in that space and giving yourself time to really um, understand how did you get there, and what is happening inside of you and around you as well that has somehow pushed you into that space. And reach out to people as well, you know, find teachers or people that can support you through this process as well. And while when you reach, I call the middle point, where you now starting to feel like, you know, like a baby, you are not crawling anymore, you are walking, and you have a support system around you, you have a community around you, people that you can talk to, people who've been there, people who are experts in this. Then you start to connect with what is it that you love, you know, because it's really about what is it that you love doing, what makes you happy, what is it that would make you wake up in the morning no matter what, like even if you don't get paid for it, you will still do it, you know.
Mm.
You start jotting down all these things. It doesn't necessarily also have to be just one thing. It could be many different things that you have. It's not just a specific gift, but it could be these different gifts that when they're packaged together, they make you who you are, and they make you shine, and they bring you out into the world and your vibration. And with a very clear knowledge that this is exactly what's needed, you know, that you are here for a reason, and somebody out there might need just your energy in the way you show up into the world. And I think this is also fundamental, the really know the knowledge of you are wanted, you know, you are here for a reason. It's not just passing by or a mistake, or you are here, you're part of the system, and you have something to give, and what you have to give is really important, and only you can give it. Many people could be artists, but only you can be that artist. So you bring together all these things that bring you joy, the things that you will do even if you don't get paid. And it's a process, you know, and jot them down. And usually is that what I have found from my experience is that the things that you really, really enjoyed and the things that really bring you joy, they don't change so much over the years, you know, and you find out that you still kind of, they change shape a little bit, but you still fundamentally, or in the core, you still kind of want the same things. You might say you have a desire to see people happy, and then you might just look at ways of what are the things that you might do that brings joy in people's lives. But at the same time, be practical about it. As I always say, you move from the spiritual side and say, okay, even though I said this is something that I can do even if I don't get paid for it, but then how do I put it in a way that I can get paid for it, that somebody out there can value so much what I have to give, and that there's an exchange, an economic exchange for what I do, you know. So it's a process, and it's very important that we allow ourselves this time of healing, and this time of action, and this time of doing, and the time of rest as well. And while you are in this journey, that you reach out to people to support you, who've been there, who have the knowledge that you don't have to do this on your own.
That's so beautiful. And I love that you acknowledged grief as well, and how important that is. And and also the pressure that people feel, oh my goodness, I need to find my gift, I've been doing the wrong thing. So it is a process, and I love the advice going towards joy. You know, what lights you up, that's really beautiful. So thank you. I'm just thanks. I'm just wondering about the ancestors. You know, what role do they play in helping us heal and helping us heal our world? As you mentioned, you know, we're in really quite chaotic and intense times at the moment.
Wow. Well, it's our belief, basically from the Ubuntu system as well, is that um, our ancestors, even though they've passed on, but for us, is their memories or their energy will always be with us, you know, and we constantly have access and connection with them through our hearts and through our prayers. And as well as it's not only about having this connection, but this also this connection is a continuation of give and take as well, in a sense that because we are here still walking the earth, our responsibility is to constantly remember them and to continue the things that they couldn't finish, but as well is that we believe that they are here to support us as well. So it's also a sense of, I mean, scientifically, if you look at it, is your ancestors are your DNA. So the story of your family system is in your DNA. So you can look at it that way. So whatever disease that is in your family is in your DNA. The story, the history of your family is within you. So therefore, the traumas and the joys and the triumphs, they are all imprinted in you. And the responsibility is to create this relationship between where you come from, between where us now, and then the future ancestors, in having this continuous journey of healing, of continuing to nurture the good things that have already been planted, as well as creating new stories as well, new beautiful stories. So, and this is done in an indigenous way. Of course, it's done through ritual, you know. So ritual is very important, and this is a space of silence, you know. This is a space, not a space of going back into this deep listening to the inner voice. And ritual is mostly done in connection with nature, hence nature is really so important, which is really a very painful time right now as well, that what's happening, you know, with all the fires that are happening, with the rivers being so polluted. So this also is a reflection of us as human beings, of how we feel about ourselves. And this is reflecting to how we treat the world and what's going on in the planet as well. So this is not separate, it's not something separate. And I always tell people then, we need more than now is to come back into the space of connecting with our ancestors, the histories, the trauma, connecting with ourselves and connecting with the people around us, and coming together into going back into this healing journey of going back to the roots, of going back to the times of the circle, the times of sitting around the fire, going back to the times of the tree. Because if we do that, then we do remember how important nature is to us and how Mother Earth is actually nurturing us. The planet doesn't need us. I feel like we've reached such a high egoistic state that this illusion of the planet needs us. Do you know, it's sometimes a duality when there's fires and people say, oh, let's do prayers. And for me, yes, of course, I get involved in that as well, because yes, it's needed and it does help. But I always say we just need to remember that if the other day I was in meditation and I was thinking, if we all had to disappear as human beings, the planet will thrive. You know, it will heal itself so quickly. So therefore, when we call for the healing of the earth, I would like us to also really focus in the healing of ourselves, because it's us that is hurting. It's us that is wounded. It's in us. This destruction, this fires, this pollution is in us, and therefore we are contaminating whatever we are touching. So I would mostly call for the healing of us humans, to remember who we are, to remember Ubuntu, to remember the times of the trees, to remember the times of the fire, and go back to the times of the circle, where we took time to listen to each other, to hear each other, and to share, where we still had respect for what is sacred.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, I got goosebumps when you said that. So really, it's our own traumas, our own disconnection that we see reflected in the outer world. And you're saying, concentrate on healing yourself, because the earth, and then that will be reflected in our outer world. That's really beautiful, and I so agree with you. You mentioned the time of the tree. I wonder if you could tell me a bit more about that.
So when we do ritual of connecting with the ancestors, one of the places that the trees are very important, and each family has its own tree. You'll find that each family or each community has a tree where people gather, either for it's almost like a meeting room, where people gather to hear each other, to solve their village problems, or to connect, because the tree has the roots in the earth, and it has its branches up into the cosmos. So therefore we believe the trunk is this connection. So if we really want to listen and hear wisdom, we go under the tree and hope that we get this assistant, and the ancestors are gather with us as well, and the future ancestors gather with us to help us, and in whichever process that we are going through. So this is the essence of it, really, is to say, let's just be humble enough again to go back into this time of saying, we don't know everything. We don't know what's coming. Right now we live in this time of transition, really. We really don't know what's coming, which the world that's coming, what it's going to look like. But we have this chance to create it, and what kind of a world do we want to see? But we need to humble ourselves enough to understand that, as I said, this planet was here long before us, and if we all disappear, it will still exist long after we're gone. Therefore, let's humble ourselves enough to go back into the time of the sacred space of the trees, of listening to what nature has to say, and also what is it that we can learn from it as well. So this is going back into this gathering under the tree, and just really saying, we don't know, and we would like to have this commune again between the cosmos, God, Allah, whichever way you choose to call them, their ancestors, and the ecosystem, and the animal kingdom, because they also have things to say as well to us. It's not just us that are so highly intelligent and know everything.
I love that, because I love trees. They're really special, and what you described is quite a shamanic symbolism to me. The lower world, the trunk being the middle world, and the branches reaching upward to the upper world. That's really beautiful. I wonder if so we could do that now. Those of us anywhere where there's a tree, we could all be doing this. Just yeah.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, even if you feel like, okay, I don't live where there are trees, I'm right in the middle of a city, there's parks in the cities. Okay, then gather around in your flat, call your friends, and be in the circle. In the circle, and take the time of silence, listening and sharing, and be in grief and also heal each other and share the joys. And then when you leave that space, we go and we touch the world, and let's see what kind of world that we will emerge from that,
Mm.
to just go out there as warriors and saying we're saving the planet. I don't know. I don't think this is the way. Yes, let's do things as well, of course. Take steps towards making saving the planet, but it comes from within. It's coming from inside of us.
Mm. Yeah. You mentioned the circle quite a few times, and just wondering if you could say a bit more about that energy and how circling or being in circle and sharing can help us heal ourselves and maybe bring, I don't know, ideas, or I don't want to say solutions, but new ways of being that can also help our world that we have, as we've all acknowledged, we have been separated from and, disrespected, really.
Yeah. The circle it's that space where you get to stop. It's that space where you get an opportunity to be with people that are your tribe, or we could call your family system, where it should be a safe, sacred space of transparent sharing, a space where you could really be transparent about your processes, where you are in your life, in all aspects of your life, and where you can feel heard and connected. Because as we already said in the beginning, this is a desire of every human being or every animal is to feel that they belong and to feel heard and to feel seen. As children, when a child enters the room, they want to be seen. They're constantly looking for attention because they want to be seen, and we have that. It's human nature that we want to be seen, we want to be touched, we want to be heard. Therefore, if you feel seen, if you feel heard, if you feel you have purpose in life, if you feel you have a tribe of people where you can go to that empower you, people that support you, people that accept you for who you are, there is no need for perfection because it does not exist. You are accepted for who you are, for your processes, your life struggles. You then become this really human being that the earth is really looking for, because you know that you belong to something greater than you. You know that you have a tribe, people that you can rely on. So this removes this illusion of competition, the illusion of I'm on my own, the illusion of it's too much, what can I do, So I really recommend that people find circles and they find community. And also this idea of raising family, on your own, when you have a mother and a father and children. It's really important that when you have a child, when a child is born, that you expand your circle system. We say in the African way, a child is raised by the village, because we believe it is not possible for two people to be able to give all, to give in to all the needs of what this great spirit, this human being is coming to do in this planet. So therefore you need a village,
That's wonderful. I love that concept of it's such a great spirit. You need the whole village.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And sadly, not many people's experience these days. But yeah, so I'm really thankful for your sharing about circles. And yeah, I'm really motivated to expand my circles and maybe join more. I wonder if you can tell me, I mean, we talked about the ancestors. I wonder, what about connecting to the dream time? Is that something that you would recommend or you have experience of?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dreams are very important in my culture as well, or in any indigenous culture that I've researched, is that dreams, it's almost, they come in different ways. Because also, I mean, in Western psychology, as we know, with Freud and all these people, it's like dreams are either a way to tell us where we are in our lives and what we're struggling with and what's really hidden that we don't have time to look at from day to day. But also for us, in a shamanic way, is that dreams can also be a way of predicting the future as well. And it could also be a way where your ancestors have um, a communication with you. This is how they were able to bring messages between the two worlds. And this varies. Not everybody, some people are not so open that they are able to do the dreaming with the communication with their ancestors. But we all dream, you know. You find people though who don't remember their dreams. And for me, it's very interesting because I just grew up in a home where my grandmother every morning asked me, what did you dream about? Because it's very important, because for her then, she knew through my dreams where I was in my life or what's going on in my life. Is there something that she missed that she probably didn't see that's happening, or what changes am I going through in my life? But as well as to see that, are there any messages that the ancestors are bringing through? Because mostly either they speak to children or they speak to gifted children. So dreams are really very, very, very highly important aspect in the family system. And I really encourage also in the Western world, through also Western psychology also, is to, when people gather together or when groups or circles gather together, that they also explore their dreams as well and see what messages, especially if you are working on planetary healing or on healing yourselves, or whatever project you're doing together. I think for me, it would be very interesting to see even this brought into this, I'll say, normal working world as well, to see when people are doing projects together, what kind of dreams are they having. And this really helps also a lot to bring an understanding of seeing where people are and what also needs to be done, or what's missing that is not being able to be communicated during the day, because not everybody really knows how to be transparent and how to communicate properly. But they play a very crucial role in an indigenous way, in indigenous psychology. And there's also medicines that help with that also. When a person is not dreaming or is not feeling aligned, it's almost like you need to clean your system in order to be aligned, in order to be able to channel your dreams very well. So um, it's seen as you are off balance if you don't remember your dreams. So you need to clean your system in order to be able to remember your dreams.
That's interesting. Yes, I've heard that vitamin B12 is the dreaming vitamin. So
Yeah.
a lot of, say, vegetarians and vegans may be deficient in that. So yeah, that's wonderful. I actually belong to a dreaming community, and we bring our dreams, and we have someone there who pulls out the collective messages. And it's absolutely amazing because a theme will emerge. Yeah. Often people are dreaming of the same colors, of the same animals, and people get messages. We had someone bring a dream in which Mother Earth said, when you cut your hair, she needs this information and we should bury our hair, the cuttings of our hair. I mean, it was amazing. So thank you. Yes, I do think dreams are important as well. And you were very blessed to have a grandmother who asked you about your dreams.
Yeah, I really encourage that. I encourage parents to do that as well, to just, and this is also, it creates a connection, and it starts a connection with your children as well. When you, every morning when you ask them, rather than asking them, how did you sleep? It's a more of, what did you dream about? Do you remember your dreams? How was it? Because then this includes of how they slept, actually. Because If they had nightmares, you know how they slept. They were kind of dreams, and it also creates communication, and you get to see, so this is where their fears are. This is where they're feeling stuck, and you are able to know where your children are or the people you live with, where they are. Yeah. And it's always interesting because you talked about collective intelligence, because then when you live together, you start to realize also that you have similar dreams.
Mm.
And then if there's a really big message that wants to come through, or there's tension within the group, that if you see your dreams, you realize, wow, we are having similar dreams, and what could be the way forward, or what's holding us back. So it's very important that we look at that as well, the power of collective intelligence when it comes to dreams.
That's so true, yes. There's so much more to this life that we can connect to. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, if only we could just, I don't even claim to know it all. It's just like just tapping into it, and just the knowledge of we are so interconnected with each other. There is no separation. It's total illusion. It's just, for me, magic on its own.
It is, yes. And nature is a big one for me. I know you've mentioned nature a few times, and I just wonder if you can, we talked about connecting with the tree. Are there any other rituals or processes or things we can do to connect to nature, speak with nature, receive messages, that can help ourselves or help the earth at this time?
Yeah, I think that the most basic one is really silencing your mind. It's meditation, or just really going for a walk in the woods, and slowly just starting to acknowledge and practice being in nature, practice the connection, and having, people, we all know the science of talking to plants. People who grow plants, that if they talk to plants, and the plants grow, and they respond to that, so you go to the woods and you talk to the trees, and some people might say that's crazy, but you just think you can just start by just being grateful. Just understand biologically and scientifically, what do trees provide for us to be here, the oxygen, and just start from there. Then, some people are not spiritual, so you think, no, I wouldn't do that. Well, look at it from a scientific point of view of what are they providing, and just be thankful for that. Be there and respect, and even more of, we still really don't understand how it even works. So being in wonder, and then in awe of, wow, this is such greatness. And the only thing, if you remember that, then it feels almost like you don't have any other choice, but you just have respect, to humble yourself to the whole system of life, to the whole system of the universe, because we're constantly discovering things, but we still don't know really how it all works. So it's, for me, it's a sense of silence, humbleness, and connection, and reconnecting. And for me, that's just the beginning of ritual, and everything else is really symbolic. I bring water, I bring offerings, we do that, we can dance, and we can, whatever else that we feel called to do. But the first thing is really just silencing the mind, and showing respect, and being humbled, and connecting from the heart to everyone around us. Yes.
That's lovely. Yes. What kind of things do you offer? Because I don't know myself. I thought, I need to make an offering, but I don't know what to offer. Is it more the intention and the love and the feeling behind it rather than the thing? It's like, what does a tree need other than water?
Yeah, I think we need to be careful. I was talking with a sister of mine from Australia, and she had written an article that we just need to be careful as well when we do these offerings. Like, there are trees that, like, for example, in Africa, we would put alcohol, homemade alcohol, of course, it will be organic. will bring vegetables, the food that we are eating ourselves, basic stuff that are clean and organic, I will say it's very important. But we've also just started, people will put coins. There are some trees that when the coin gets rusty, it actually affects the trees and it affects the nature around. So we also need to be very aware, as I said, practical spirituality that includes science and logic and common sense. So let's not overdo things or say, oh, indigenous things were done this way, we need to continue. No, some things we just need to look at them very clearly. So like, for example, if you go to the river, we'll put coins, but then just have the awareness that what is that doing to the environment, when you somewhere that Celtic people used to put coins in certain places. Okay, great, but would that still be good for the environment, or would that still be good for where you are right now? So also the offerings, it's something that you would put in your own system, but I would really say it needs to be clean, it needs to be organic, it needs to be really not something that it's gonna be destroying the environment there when you're gone. So let's have awareness of that. Yes.
I love that. Practical advice as well.
Yes.
And common sense. And I think if it comes from the heart, just your love,
Yes.
your love. And it can be simple, can't it? It doesn't have to be a fancy, elaborate ritual that you're doing.
Yes. Water is the most basic. And it's the most basic and the most powerful. You just bring it and you make an offering and you pour it on the ground. You don't even have to leave the container there. You just we pour it on the ground, and this is it. Yeah.
Great, that's lovely. And I know you do work with eco-villages. I wonder if you can tell me a bit about that, and how does Ubuntu come into play there, or is it based on like the principles of permaculture?
Well, I've been involved with the eco-village movement for some time now, and I really recommend eco-villages, as I've said before, because it has to do with living in community. And some people would ask me, how do people live like in an eco-village? Eco-villages, there's different eco-villages and all around the world. They based on different way of governance, different lifestyles, but the bottom line of it is really just coming together to live together and to live sustainably and to live with the earth, whether using permaculture, whether using a new way of educating ourselves on how to live together and how to live with each other. And I would recommend people to really find a way to learn more about that. But also, like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be in nature. It could be anywhere. If you live in a city, you can create a co-housing space if you choose to live with other people. And it's just a way really of people that decide that or have decided, because some of them have been around for many years, that they want to get away from this illusion, of separation, this illusion of this really living in a way that is so irresponsible, towards ourselves and towards the earth, and creating ways of governance, creating ways of circular economy. It's not perfected, but just doing the best that people can as well. So and there's many around the world, so wherever people are, they can just make a connection or start their own community, or rather than, in the South is I was born in community and raised in community, so we in indigenous places, it's not a matter of wanting to live together, wanting to come together. It's a matter of introducing new technologies just to make life more better within the villages, within the already existing communities. So I think
Great.
this is,
Fantastic. So we're coming to the end of our time. I just wanted to know, is there anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to share? Any exciting projects you want to share with us that you're working on?
Yeah, like what my bio said, a few friends of mine, we started what we call Rise Ubuntu Network, which is really bringing together different indigenous leaders as well as like young people and leaders who are really looking at going back into this time of the circles that we're talking about, using indigenous technologies, bringing them into the sustainable and regenerative lifestyle in a practical way, not just focusing on ceremony and spirituality, but really focusing on practical ways of learning to live together. And we're working on all these aspects, which also includes diversity and racism as well, because there's a lot that we still need to heal on that aspect, and also climate justice issues that come up a lot. And we have, as part of RISE, we have a training school, which is called Ubuntu Hard Leadership, where we really train leaders in learning how to facilitate themselves and learning how to live with the earth again, in learning how to live with each other and how to do projects together, but doing them from the heart, rather than just coming from the mind, and making sure whatever projects they do that are the narrative, or they are aligned with working together with the earth as well, and understanding the impact that they will have on the people around them, the communities, and the planet as a whole. So, yeah.
Great, wonderful. So if people want more information about these things, how can they connect with you? What's the best way?
The best way really is to connect with me through my email, which is nonty, NONTYS @gmail.com. But I'm also on Facebook, which is Nonty Charity Sabic. You can find me there and send me a message as well. And maybe it can be written down also on my profile when you send it out. And we also have a website, which is called www.nontycharitysabic.com. And another one is called Rise, www.risecircle.org.
Okay, great. Yes, I'll put those beneath the video, so they should be on your speaker page.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. You've shared so much wonderful wisdom, and I've really enjoyed it. Thank you, Nanti.
Thank you, Monique, for taking the time to invite me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.